My father used to import in Africa, especially in Zaire, Congo. He was importing used clothing, and he got the license. You know, he was the first one to get the license to import. And at that time was very little, you know, slowly it was a learning process how to do all this. And it did work out. Canadian Clothing, I started in 1998. But originally we were partners, my father and the two brothers. We were four together when we first started in '83. We've been hearing a lot of clothing are going into landfills. So one way we thought, okay, this was a good way of recycling and helping out at the same time while you're recycling the clothing. That was the first time. It was our learning experience. Once we learned how to do the grading, how to do the baling, how to load containers. It wasn't easy.
Carbon emissions are created with textiles in landfill. They leach chemicals in the water, they contaminate the water table, they leach chemicals in the air and release CO2. 85% of all textiles end up in landfill, unfortunately. CCI actually processes that waste, so they're the specialists in terms of what to do with it once it's collected. Currently, CCI processes approximately 30 million pounds a year, and that will reduce CO2 by over 122 million pounds a year.
Here we try to recycle as much as possible. Even the plastic, the steel metals we recycle electronics. Every year we do 30 million, maybe 2% might go into the garbage because there are certain items you cannot use at all. Once you get it from the trailer, you bring it to the line, you do the first processing of the clothing, which goes to the second processing areas. Every section has their own areas, where they're resorted again for checking for any stain or mark, and they identify accordingly that which goes into which bin, which is number one, which is number two, which is cutting for cutting, you know, everything is separated accordingly. And once that is done, it goes to the baling machine. That's the last process of baling and then exporting it.
CCI's efficiency comes from their experience. You know, they really helped create the sector in Canada, you know, what it is. So they're always looking at, you know, how many loads can I get through faster? What machine can I bring in that will simplify the process? Other facilities that I've entered are very rudimentary in terms of their process, and they rely on manual labor for everything, including repetitive motion, things that can be dangerous to their staff. The other issue I find is air quality. Because of all the fibers that are being moved, the air quality tends to be very difficult to be in. But in CCI, the air quality is beautiful. They've got a great filtration system. But then when you add things like their solar panels, their conveyor belt system, you know, all those things, their special baling machines, really reduce the impact of risk when it comes to employees, and that's what impresses me. CCI is a wonderful employer, and that's really what sets it apart. You know, in textile reclamation, every 1,000 tons that we divert from landfill creates 7 direct and 15 indirect jobs. So it's really, aside from the carbon reduction, which is outstanding, it's the job creation that gets the local community excited.
Right now we have roughly 150 employees working for us here at Canadian Clothing. And we were the pioneer in the 80s when we started. Right now there are 90 warehouses doing same kind of business, right? But actually if you look at it, it's good because a lot of clothes are taken out from the landfill. All these people do the same exporting to third world countries to help out people.
CCI, one of their greatest benefits is they have a massive network in terms of their end product potential. So even stuff like clothing that can't be reused for whatever reason, they've got processes in place that can either turn them into industrial rags, and even something as small as a fabric scrap can be sold to cat toy manufacturers. So there's literally a process for just about everything.
My future goal is to sell this clothing here locally, so we create more employment for people. It works out very well this way too.
CCI truly is at the top of their game when it comes to sustainability. So now it's a matter of getting them more textiles to process. And that's where municipalities are now becoming very energized for meeting zero waste goals with textiles.